live with an ASC certified mechanic, and if you have an accident and can't respond, Hum will automatically send for help. All this and more for just $10 a month. And if you're in Marion County, I'll even deliver and set it up for free. Call me 352-528-0020.
You have that drip coming down from the corner of the room, but where did it start from?
Bone Dry Roofing can and will fix it right the first time using quality materials and will deal honestly and fairly with you, period. You can find Bone Dry Roofing on their website, bonedryroofingllc.com, and Facebook at Bone Dry Roofing LLC. Do it right before your roof needs a tarp to keep the elements out. Bone Dry Roofing stands behind the work to help make your home safe and secure, plus they have financing available. Remember, if you're not bone dry, then you're all wet.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
Five minutes after 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Earlier this morning, we had two of the adult children of I guess, a legendary wrestler on the phone with us. And the reason they were on is because I guess the father, the way I understood it, the father had started to write his memoir, and then he had a heart attack and died. And so they finished the memoir for him, and it was just such a touching story. And they discovered things about him that they didn't know, and of course, then they shared what they did know with us, and it's just such a loving tribute to somebody, or maybe to your children. If you leave a legacy in writing to them, whether you publish it or not is up to you. LeRoy Flemming is on the phone with us. He is a poet and an author, and he's written a book called Soul Splitting. It's a 5-book series where he ponders his own life, his dreams, and the passing of his mother. And in addition to talking about the book, he just wants to talk to us in general about writing your legacy, writing a memoir, right? Mm-hmm. Creating a great story for your family. I've thought about doing this, a couple of weeks ago when I went to New York with my son, we were walking where I used to walk as a kid, and so it was like memory after memory after memory, and I was probably just talking way too much, but and I said to him at the end of the trip, we were there only like 4 days. I said to him, I said, guys, I hope I haven't talked too much this trip. I feel like everything I looked at was a memory. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, he's 30 years old. He's maybe, at that age when I was 30, I probably would have been soaking it all in, everything my parents told me. Now, when I was 17, I probably would have said, I don't need to hear any of that stuff.
Right.
LeRoy, good morning, LeRoy. How are you?
I'm good. I'm great. How are you guys doing today?
I'm all right. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling you from Altamont Springs.
Altamont Springs, right down the road.
Yes.
Well, if you ever want to do another interview, come into the studio. We'd love to have you here.
Just let me know when, and I'll be there.
So,
how to get there?
Are you talking on a speakerphone by chance?
No, I'm not.
Okay. It just sounds a little bit muffled. Tell me about the book Soul Splitting. When did you write the book?
Well, Soul Splitting, it is a 5-volume series, and I've been working on Soul Splitting and Time Enlightenment for a period of about 16 years after passing of my mom.
Okay.
And what?
Okay, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So your mom passed away 16 years ago?
Yeah, January 1st, 2000.
Oh, my gosh. And so just like with the interview we had this morning, what it said to me was that these children loved their father. Obviously, you must love your mother for you to be doing this.
Yeah, more than life itself, Larry.
Yeah.
The situation evolved from December 25th. She was the last time that I saw her. January the 1st, she passed away, and I went into somewhat of a depressing type spiral, uncontrollable situation. And I just picked up a pen and I began to tell the stories of what I remember her telling me and the things that I saw in my life that I wanted to share, not only with myself but to the general public, human family as well.
Do you have children of your own?
No, I do not.
So if that ever happens, or maybe you've got nephews or other family members, nieces and nephews, I should have said. I mean, obviously, this is going to be very beneficial to all of them.
Absolutely, it's going to be very beneficial because the one thing, like you were saying earlier about your previous guest, a lot of times we don't know or we don't ask questions of our parents and what their life was like and what it was like for them growing up and what pitfalls did they have and what successes did they have. We don't record that enough as individual family members. So I'm out to try to inspire people to at least try to jot some of that down. So at least when your children come of age, you can share with them what your life was like at a certain period of time.
And you might have had some questions as you were writing down your memories that you might have wished that you were doing this while she was still with you, because you might have had some kinds of answers that you needed to have.
Absolutely, Robin. You're 100% correct. And that was the thing about me being her son. I never thought about trying to disrupt or interrupt her life by asking questions. But when that person that you love leaves, then you always had a question. Mom, what was it like for you growing up? Can you tell me a story about how you and my father met, or how it was for you to develop and take care of your children?
You know, I don't know if this is going to sound too out of left field or something, but I've often thought about this, that there's a point in our lives when we are our mothers, because we're all part of the same body for a little while, right? For 9 months, anyway. And when you put the title soul splitting, I almost thought maybe that's what you're saying, or maybe that's what happens. Maybe her soul becomes our soul, and then it splits, and we have our own identity. And I don't know. It just seems like it's a different thing than the way we have fathers. I mean, it's biologically, it's such a different experience.
Yeah, it really is, and that's a great point. The way soul splitting was written is, my mom was such a great part of that, and every mother on the planet has an integral part in the development of us as human beings. Like, for 9 months, we're in her womb, and she's taking care of us, she's having great thoughts, and then 9 months later, we come forward. And then once you begin to grow up, like you said, when you're like 17, 16, you don't want to ask your parents all that because you want to live your own life. But when you really sit down and think about it, like with my mother, I would have loved to have known what was it like for you growing up, because I would like to know maybe those lessons would have gotten me further along in my life. Maybe the dream chasing would have been much more effective and efficient. So all women, and I say this from my heart, all women are connected to that spiritual universe in terms of how we rear our children and then preparing for us to leave as well.
Yeah.
Do you feel that you are successful, though, in your own personal life?
Well, the true part of it is like my dreams were tied to my mother. Everything that I ever thought about, everything that I really wanted to do, I said, if I make this, then I could do that for her. But you know what a mother would always say? She would always say to me, don't worry about me, just take care of you. If you take care of you, then that would be the best. So if you're asking me, am I a success? She passed away before I could materialize all my dreams. So in a certain sense, I don't feel as successful. But in terms of trying to write about her life and let people know how much I loved her and how much my brothers and sister loved her, then I think I'm doing justice by her by doing that.
Wow, she sounds like a smart lady. Tell me about your mom a little bit. How old was she when she died?
She was 48.
Oh my gosh! So how old were you when she died? I
was 30 years old.
Wow, that's too sad. That's way too young. Is it okay to ask how she died? What happened?
Well, she went to the hospital like on the 25th of December when I saw her in 1999. Around the 27th, she went to the hospital, and then from there, my sister called me and told me she was all right. She called and told me she was all right, but on January the 1st, she passed away in the hospital.
Oh my gosh! So it was kind of all of a sudden. I mean, within 1 week, you lose your mom. So what was she? Who was she? Was she an artist? Was she a writer? Was she a teacher? What was she?
My mother was a very caring woman. She had to raise all her kids. She was a single parent, trying to raise 5 children on her own. And the way I can describe her to you is, I think her heart was like gold. There was nothing she wouldn't do for her children. There was nothing she wouldn't do for other people, kids. But what I loved about it is that even though she did that, she still had discipline. She would tell her son, look, don't go out there and act a fool because you're representing me and a lot of other people, and I don't want to have you to have a bad reputation. So when I went to college, I always thought about that. Even though in high school I was a bit of a class clown, but when I got to college, I began to focus in a little bit more. I said, well, class clown can wait unless I want to go in the theater. But in class, I just tried to make sure I represented her to the best of my ability. And then when I graduated from college, Larry and Robin, I gave my degree to her out of appreciation and love to let her know I thought about her the whole time.
Oh, wow. That's sweet.
You really have a nice philosophy about emotions, that you shouldn't leave them inside.
Yes. And when I thought about my mom, when I went through the depression spiral type thing, I began to see all of my emotions flooding to my memory and then flooding to my heart. And it was really depressing because it was like, well, how do you deal with all of this? She's gone now. I can't say anything to her. I can't, go back and see her. So what do? And those emotions were getting clogged. And what I want to say to your listeners today is that when you take an emotion and you write it down on paper, and I want to say you bleeding the pen onto the page, what you're doing is you're actually taking away toxins from your body, a memory that you used to have that won't be there anymore. It'll be a concrete thing where you can go back and review what you thought about yourself in your life at that time.
Oh, I love that.
What did she tell you? This is kind of a left field question, I think, but hopefully it'll stimulate an answer. What did she tell you to prepare you for the world?
Larry, man, that's a great question. That's right on point. I can just tell you, when I was 15, I was a bit of a child with a lot of energy, trying to define myself, defend myself. And she sat me down one day in the midst of my turmoil. She said, son, let me just explain something to you. She said to me, number one, she said, nobody lives forever. And she prepared me for that when I was like 15. I didn't know what it meant at the time, right, because she just said to me, don't get out here and think that you're going to be the He-Man of the world because nobody lives forever. So I put that check mark in my memory bank, and I just kept it moving as a 15-year-old. And then she brought me back when she was like, when I was getting ready to finish high school, she said to me, I just want you to understand that I'm proud of you. And whatever you do at this point, I know that you're going to be okay because you listen. So I put that check mark in my memory bank. And the last thing she said to me physically before she passed away, she said to me, I may give out, but I will never give up. And I definitely put an asterisk, a check mark, exclamation point, because those were the last words that she said to me, and those are the last words that I take above everything else about not quitting. And that's what I learned from my mom. If I didn't take anything else away, that particular quote that she gave me carries me every single day of my life.
Wow. Do you when you're writing the books, do you go back in your mind? Like, is it almost like going back in time? Do you relive that stuff? And if you do, how is that? Is that sad? Is that exciting? I mean, because I would imagine sitting down with your own thoughts in a quiet room, typing about something your mom or anything from your past, it must be a way to sort of go back there, like traveling through time a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely, Larry. You are traveling through time. And initially when I started writing, I never would go back and read it because the memory was too painful at that point, because it's like I'm taking something out of me and I'm putting it on the page. Right. And now should I read it? No, you can't do that, because to me it's like you do more damage, because now it's too fresh and your mind is like still running and it's still reeling. So I just made a promise that as I go through these books and I begin to write, I won't go back and read one thing. But when I went through the editing process, then I began to go back and try to correct it. I still never focus on the emotion.
Sure, yeah.
But once I got it, Larry and Robin, once I got it and I went back to read how it first started and what I first said, I couldn't help it. The tears they just flowed. And me being a man, and my mom would always say, be a man, be a man. But when she was gone, I turned into a little boy, and I was crying almost every other piece, because that piece was like, this is what you taught me. This is what I lived. And also besides that, too, just so you guys know, I also write about the loves in my life. Like the women that I met, I wish she would have been here to see that. She probably would approve or disapprove, and you know how moms are. So all those things just kind of remind me, and to your listeners, that every moment that you have in life is important. And you need to write down the painful stuff as well as the great stuff. And I challenge them, don't read it now, because that's going to be too much for you. But give yourself some time to get away from it, and then go back, and then you'll see whether or not it's worthy to leave to your family.
When you are dating and go into relationships, do you set the lady that you're dating to a higher standard because you did lose your mom, and your mom was such a fabulous lady that you want to make sure that whoever you marry will be a great role model for your children?
Well, the women that I dated, I cared for them tremendously. And I never tried to compare them to my mom, because what happened is if someone asks me about my mom, and this is true, I always deflect that question, even if that woman means a lot to me, because I've always felt like if I start telling them about that, then I'm putting too much on them for them to try to act like they needed to heal me, to try to be sympathetic to me. So I just take every woman, no matter who she is to this day, as who she is. And then if they should ask me, I would say, well, I'm a writer, and I only started writing because I lost my mom. And if they're like really, really dear to me, and they really, really sincere, I'll give them a book just so they can kind of see where I'm coming from, so they can kind of understand the man, whether they with me 1 year or 10 years or just one day. I would like for them to just know the kind of person that I am. So I hold them to the standard of just being true to who you are. And if you're true to who you are, then I conclude that you'll be true to your family and your boyfriend.
Oh, wow.
And me.
Wow, you could have been a preacher or a philosopher or something.
Oh, man, come on.
LeRoy,
Really?
LeRoy Flemming, I just went to your website. I went to www.soulsplitting.biz. Can I read one of the reviews on here? It's from
Yes, sir.
a lady named Clara McClinton, and she writes, "If you ever feel trapped by your thoughts and feelings about life, the point of it all, and what your purpose is, these books are a reminder of what's truly important in life. We all need to open our eyes, look around, and appreciate what we have." Wow. She really got the point of the book, didn't she?
Yeah, she did, really. And I explained the story to her, but when she went in and gave me the review, I was like blown away by that. I said, well, you got that from just She said, yes, and plus it was authentic as well. And to your listeners, the thing I want to say to everybody, that no matter what you do, always be authentic. And I think Oprah talks about that a lot, trying to find yourself. So when you put something on paper.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right, and she's right. There's one thing we've learned in doing this radio show, is that your audience can see through you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You are transparent. So if you're lying to them, they're going to know it. If you're putting on an act, they might be entertained by the act, but they're going to know it's an act.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's the really truth. LeRoy Flemming, take a break with us, and we'll be right back with you. What a great topic! What a great tribute to your mother. It's a 5-book series. How many of the books have you written already?
Well, I've published 10, and those 10 books is dedicated solely to my mom. I'm working on a new series now.
Oh, okay. We'll take a little break and be right back with LeRoy, and we'll tell you how you can get the books in just about 2 minutes.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Watch for rough surf and strong rip currents over the next few days at the beaches. Partly sunny and breezy in this Wednesday. There may be a shower in spots along the coast, a high 82 to 86. Partly cloudy Wednesday night, lows in the 60s, inland 72 along the coast. Partial sunshine and breezy Thursday. There can be a shower in spots along the coast, high 81 to 85. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
The very best in quality is Captain T's Upholstery.
Hey, this is Dan. Let me ask you a few questions. Does your boat look better with the cover on? Has your car's interior seen its better days? Stop using a towel to cover up those rips in the golf cart. Isn't it about time you had it restored to better than new with a custom upholstery from Captain T? Captain T's Upholstery has been right here in Ocala for nearly 20 years, so they know how to make your ride one of a kind. Whether you want to take that classic ride back to a factory look or put your favorite sports team front and center, Captain T's Upholstery is who to call. 352-369-1810. That's 352-369-1810. Or stop by their location, 5030 South Pine Avenue in Ocala, just past the drive-in. And of course, don't forget to visit them on the web, CaptainTUpholstery.com.
The very best in quality is Captain T's Upholstery.
Until you go into Automax, Marion County's #1 pre-owned dealer for over 15 years, and see their upfront pricing and how Automax puts their low outlet price, along with the Carfax and complete vehicle information on the window of every single vehicle. Then, and only then, can you take advantage of great finance offers, like rates from 2% with 0 down, and no payments for 90 days with loan approval. View all these great prices and vehicles on the corner of 17th and Easy Street. Automax, quality cars, outlet prices.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. The Voice of South Marion reminds us that early detection is vital. Breast cancer is the most common cancer in women in the United States. According to statistics, 232,670 women and 2,360 men will be diagnosed with breast cancer in the United States in 2015. Learn as much as you can and support cancer research. Message brought to you by the caring folks at the Voice of South Marion.
Cookies, 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 cookies. We go cookie eating cookies.
When you want something special and fun for any occasion, get cookies. King Cookie in the Paddock Mall in Ocala will make a delicious, fun-filled delight just for you. So next time you're in the mall, stop by King Cookie or call 352-237-2557. KingCookieOcala.com. Customized cookies, cakes, and more. King Cookie.
Eating cookies. We're so happy eating cookies.
All right, 25 minutes after 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. If you're looking at the streaming video, by the way, up until the break, I had the WOCA logo on the streaming video. But during the break, I was able to go online and download the picture of the book, Soul Splitting by LeRoy Flemming. And I also have a picture of him, and he's a good-looking guy, Robin.
Yes,
have you seen this picture?
Yes,
LeRoy, gosh, you know what? What you're telling us is the secret to world peace. If every mother and every child and every parent, I don't want to just limit it to mothers, fathers too. If every parent and every child had the relationship that you and your mom had, there would be no wars. I can't imagine anybody hurting anybody if they were brought up the way you were brought up.
Correct. And the thing about love is it supersedes everything. The one thing that I learned from my mother is you have to learn to love not only your family, but then the human family. And she would always say to me, just try to make friends with people who you are, even if you're relatively shy. Kind of open up so you can kind of understand how the world works and how people around you work. And I didn't really get that, Larry, until I went to college, and I got to meet people that I would have never met in my life. And because of that, because I went as a humble person, I would like to say that I did acquire a lot of acquaintances and friends that to this day I just think about tremendously, and I wouldn't want to do any harm to them.
Do you know what I think you and I would get along? And I think if we were to have, let's say if we went out to a restaurant or something and we were observing people, I think we'd both be having the same commentary on people who seem to put value on wealth. I mean financial wealth. People who put value on prestige and that kind of thing. I think you probably have the same feelings about those kind of attitudes as I do. I think we probably agree on that. I'm amazed that people put so much importance on fame and fortune and those kinds of things when the real important things are what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I'll give you a perfect example of when I was young and she would tell me nobody would live forever. When I was like maybe 7 or 8, my great-grandmother passed away, beautiful woman, and I went to view her body, and I didn't have any emotions. And so my mom would always say to us that, you know, in life, this is what happens. So fast forward to her passing away, the suddenness of it, that kind of stuck to my heart. It felt like my chest cavity had been cracked and my heart just kind of spilled out because I couldn't control the fact that she was gone. But when I took a look at everything in life, every single living organism, at the end of the day, this is what God's going to call us to. You can't avoid it. The rich people can't avoid it. The poor people can't avoid it. So in life, you have to find that balance of love and just understanding living and writing for the moment. I really want to say writing because you need to leave something for your family. It's imperative. Now, your kids may go back and listen to all your radio interviews, and that would be great to say my dad was a great speaker, but to just leave something for somebody that may not be doing what you're doing or what I'm doing would be the greatest treasure that you could ever give to someone.
You are a great speaker. I hope you're doing speaking engagements as well as the book. For the listeners, let's give them the website. The one I went to was soulsplitting.biz, B-I-Z. And I think you have to put the www. It didn't go without that, so make sure you put three W's. And any other way that we get the book? Is it on the other websites that sell books?
Well, they can go to Amazon.com and get the books that way as well. So they got two different avenues to find a way to get that. But all of it goes to Amazon. And Larry, I want to say, man, it's been a great interview, and I just want to leave your listeners with this metaphor that just recently happened. The Cubs and and the Cleveland Indians went to the World Series for the first time in a long time. It was a great treasure for those particular cities. How great would it be if you could leave a World Series of writings for your kids, or when they get older, they pick up the book and say, "Wow, my dad was like this, my mom was like this. They left this kind of legacy for me to follow. I know I need to live up to that."
Wow,
You gave me chills.
That
with
is awesome. Yeah,
That is pretty awesome.
You are close enough to Ocala that if you have any engagements here, we would love to have you in the studio to help you promote it. If there are any churches here or organizations that want to invite LeRoy, what do they do? How do they get a hold of you? Just go to that website?
Yeah, just go to their website and they leave their contact information to let me know that they'll be interested in my materials and having me to speak. And I just want to say, Larry, I don't know if you know this, but this is like my second time speaking to you. And dude, you and Robin, you are a dynamic duo, man. You guys really try to get to the crust of the matter so that the listener can understand what's truthful and what's beneficial to their lives.
Yeah, and we did remember that you were on before, yes. Always good to talk to you, LeRoy. Thank you. And again, the invitation is always open if you want to ever do these interviews in the studio. We'd love to have you.
Oh, man, thank you so very much. I'm honored that you would think that highly of me.
All right, we will take a little break and be right back. This is The Source, WOCA Ocala.